All right, this is pretty much a small INTP rant video about the INTP ISFP ego. So, what I've noticed about myself, about me engaging through the ISFP side of mine, is that I find it hard to really care about what other people do or what they think of me. I just go into this just hyper isolation mode, like where nothing matters, just the work I do or whatever it's in mind. I just care about that and that only. And there's a lot of interactions or triggers that put me in that side of mind, but I tend to alleviate them nowadays. But usually when I'm in that side of mind, the ISFP, I'm usually really bitter. And that's like when I don't think people, like I have the perception or I know that people don't really care about me or the real me. And I have this playing in my head like almost all the time. Well, not all the time, but the majority of the time when I'm, I guess, active in my head, I guess, when I'm not asleep. For me, that for some of the triggers, I would say just basic small talk. I like for me, it's just if you want to put me in that side of mind, I usually find myself there when I'm just not really being valued. It's just small talk, nothing meaningful. Like if I'm all about meaning and kind of getting to points in a lot of aspects of life, sort of say. But for me, if there's a lot of small talk going on, I just know you're just trying to just say something just to be socially acceptable, and that's for me. It's not really acceptable in terms of just trying to get to know someone or trying to have a conversation with them, because to me it's saying that, okay, I'm just saying hi to say hi, that's it. I'm not trying to get something out of the situation for myself and you. And yeah, it's just basically like I said, it's, to me, it's not meaningful. It's really irrelevant. So like when a lot of people use small talk or they talk about social norms, I get irritated, because I'm like, okay, people, it's a learned behavior for INTPs, or at least me, that we learn that we're not really respected out of the I guess the personality type group communities, and that's because we're just not misunderstood, and that's people being ignorant of cognitive functions, personality types, foresights, mind, interaction styles, stuff like that. And I try and look for many possible ways of just trying to educate people around that, as I see the psychology, because with that we can better understand each other, and we don't have to, in my own mind, do anything that can be meaningless consistently. Like there's me leading with TI, I just think a lot about life is meaningless, but I do it for the cognitive functions associated with sensations and intuition, because I think that's what life is all about. It's not whether we do this or that or the right or wrong, because that's subjectively from the thinking cognition and the feeling cognition, in my opinion. And then sensing and intuition is about what we do, what we did, and what we're going to do, and just pretty much how how people with certain cognitive preferences appreciate or want to apply those cognitive functions to other people. But morally about the ISFP superego, I've been in several times in my life where I'm just not really appreciated, and I just don't want to talk to anybody. Well, it's not that I don't want to talk to anybody. It's just I don't find value or any ups or downs in just having a conversation or sticking around with other people unless they're like hurt. That usually takes me out of my superego. But this video is morely about the superego. So the superego of the INTP. But yeah, what I was just saying earlier about like finding other people hurt, stuff like that, that puts me out of my ISFP ego if I'm like in there, because it makes me use my extroverted feeling and see the value in people or see the emotions. But anyways, I've been in several situations where like I said, I just don't want to be around other people, or I get extremely exhausted being around more than one person. And usually that results in me just isolating myself, because I got to figure out why this, why that, why this, why that, and then try to either improve myself or to just not deal with certain situations that are going on through the life of which I'm pretty much living. Small talk. I don't like small talk. I don't like drama, because it's not efficient and doesn't get anyone anywhere. If you have a problem, you might want to introspect, because you're not benefiting yourself, you're not benefiting other people around you, and you're just not going to advance in what you like to see yourself fit. And that's something I'm trying to better understand with my TI and NE, because I'm just trying to practice behaviors or not practice behaviors, but practicing why people have their certain behaviors. And I'm kind of liking and not liking some aspects of my superego, the ISFP side of mine, because sometimes I don't want to pay attention, but that extroverted sensing for INTPs, or the blind spot for INTPs, it causes us to do stuff to not pay attention to what people are doing. Like, it could be like the smallest things, and that's why we're missing some puzzles in our TI and NE puzzle pieces, because we don't want to sometimes look at the little things, or sometimes rarely the bigger things. And that's because, well, we don't really care about what people are doing right now. We just care about the information, and the information's relies on the thinking cognition, which would be introverted thinking, extroverted thinking. And then the intuition is about putting that into relativity. And then introverted sensing is about just categorizing all those memories in our head. It doesn't mean it makes sense, it doesn't mean it makes sense to other personality types, but it does make sense to us. And with introverted sensing being high, extroverted sensing is like, okay, introverted sensing is just categorizing everything. Okay, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is here. And for us, having introverted sensing in the third slides, we like to think we're really great at it, and in a lot of ways we are, and in some ways we're not. But that puts our blind spot, extroverted sensing, the other side of the sensing cognition, it just puts us in the realm of, well, what could we do with this, like right now, instead of what are the possibilities of what we can do with certain information. Like for me, just like an instance of me using extroverted sensing is that I don't, well, extroverted sensing blind spot. Like I try to use, I always try to watch people when I'm watching videos, even if it takes them time to get to a point, because I love watching people who get to the point of their videos, but I don't like cuts, because even though I'm trying to gain the information and just leave, I'm trying to understand what people are doing with their facial expressions, physical expressions, how and why they're doing that. Because if I can do that, I can feed in more to my T, I, and E, and then store all the information to SI. Because if I don't do that, if I don't use extroverted sensing, and I notice in some comments and threads online that people, or probably INTPs, they use the skip button, or not the skip button, but they speed up the video and they just usually listen to the audio and they don't look at what people are doing. Because if you want to figure out more about what people are doing, it's through your pessimistic functions, pretty much the extroverted functions. And when you're not using that, or when you're not engaging in those, sometimes you can be arrogant in your information gathering, or you don't want to believe what other people are saying to you, or information that's pretty much gathered, because you spend all the time up in here that you forget to, you spend all the time up in your head that sometimes when it comes to external sources that you don't want to be around, because you're not either being appreciated, or people are not just, I guess, paying attention to you. They're not seeing what you see. When that happens, we just like to be in our heads, and that can either put us in our ego, the INTP, or in our superego, the ISFP, because we're just like, and we don't want to deal with people, because it's stopping our thinking, our decision making, preference, cognitive functions. Because if we're in the INTP, we lead with decision making TI, and then ISFP, we lead with decision making FI, or introverted feeling. But yeah, it's in my life right now, I've pretty much shut down a lot of people in my life, a lot of family, and I'm just trying to gather information to learn more about myself and learn more about their personality types. Keep in mind, I don't know everyone's personality type in my family, but it's because I've been more behind the scenes and just leaving them right now, because my FE's been hurt a lot by family and some friends too, and that's caused me to be better and spending time with them. And it's because my SI is saying, well, the past experience we've had, it hasn't gone anywhere or anything. Because with one example is that my close family, or my immediate family, they're all pretty much triple affiliative personality types, and I'm trying to live life by a fair and a thinking way as well, but it's pretty much the opposite for them. And when I grew up, I didn't really have that exposure to my identity or who I am. Like I was always conscious that I'm the lonely person, people don't like me, or I have the perception that people don't like me, or they don't want to hang around me. And it's kind of funny too, because when I'm myself, when I have my own demeanor and I'm not being fake, most of the time people don't want to hang out with me, or they're saying like, okay, is something wrong with you, or what's wrong, stuff like that. And it's just like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. And then usually they don't. Usually I'm used to people not wanting to hang out with me. Like I'm I'm used to people not wanting to hang out with me, or if people want to hang out with me, they find some quality in myself that they like. Or that I did something for them, pretty much. But I've grown a lot from just that's from going out to places, or just finding new jobs, because INTPs, if you have a job, if you're working, or I wouldn't say a job, I would say if you're employed to just any type of work or occupation, I would say I wouldn't say stick around or just stay in that particular field for like a really long time. I would say you can do that, but I would say try to learn some new stuff, like on your will, either willingly or unwillingly, because you're only going to increase your extroverted intuition and your extroverted sensing by doing that, especially your extroverted sensing if you're doing like more social or outside employment, occupations, stuff like that. Because you got to learn to be, you got to train your SI, or you got to make your SI be more, be uncomfortable, so you can be more comfortable in those situations where you're not usually or generally comfortable. Because people are not going to, I learned for myself that people don't like me for who I am, so, or at least the nature. So I've learned to do a lot of stuff by myself, or to gain as much as knowledge as I can in any fields. It can be just going to the store, it can be work in a line of employment, whether that be at a store, racing, NASCAR, stuff like that, music. You just expand your knowledge, because your knowledge is already going to be expanding by TI and NE, but you're going to be missing a lot of pieces with your extroverted sensing blind spot if you don't train that. And what I've done more about my extroverted sensing is that I usually have someone saying something or an action being played in playback, and I have that in playback for, I don't know, like several minutes, because I'm just analyzing how something works, like every single component of the contraption, pretty much. It's like, okay, this line is moving like this, and then this line is moving like this. Like every time I replay it, so I can learn more about the operation of the situation, or whatever that be, the person, machine, person, place, thing, the noun, whatever. And I think a lot of INTPs are missing that, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of people may not like us, is because our SC's not really trained that much. Well, it's not trained at all. Our FIs are lowest function, so a lot of people, they just think, well, this guy doesn't really express a lot of emotions. Like we can express a lot of emotions, but that comes from meaningful conversations, and that's what I was talking about, the ISFP superego. When you do small talk, it's just not meaningful for us INTPs. It's just artificial. It's fake. And when you're presenting artificialness or fakeness to us, we don't really want to have a lot to do with you. We'd like to imagine to do a lot of stuff with you, but your conversation just shows that, or your small talk just shows that to us. And I'm not trying to denormalize or demoralize you other personality types. It's just us INTPs. We just really like efficiency, or we just like to seek, I guess you can say, meaning, maybe, because, well, meaning, that's still subjective. That's like a FI standpoint. Like when when we learn a process, it just becomes meaningful to us, and so we can further express it with our FI and SE cognitive preferences. But it's hard for INTPs, or at least me, to get there, because there's not a lot of people who appreciate the work into the intent and just why things are and why we do them. That's why when people put me in, or that's a lot of ways why people put me in my ISFP. We just become better, and we don't care about stuff because you don't care about us. And when you don't care about us, well, you just create this robot stereotype in INTPs that they're emotionless robots. And I think that's where the terminology comes from. Maybe something else as well. Like, I'm just trying to keep an open mind. Well, but when we INTPs, we spend a lot of time watching people. Sometimes not. We usually watch people through a metaphysical realm and a way of thinking, sorry. And we're trying to understand why people are acting the way they do. And from the outside in, from an INTP's perspective, or at least my perspective, we see a lot of artificialness, and we're like, okay, is this what society's doing? We're just doing small talk, something meaningless. We're not trying to really engage with each other. We're just watching people watch other people, meaning, and I mean like celebrities. Okay, something I like to point out about celebrities. I don't understand why people get associated with, I guess, celebrities. Like, I could name like probably 2 to 4 celebrities at the top of my head. I'm just not interested in celebrities. They're just people. They're just people to me. They're pretty much strangers to me. Like, I was like, yeah, they do this and do that, but I mean, pretty much anyone else can do what they do, depending on their nurture and pretty much the nature of their personality type. But I mean, nurture that helps shapes the way in which the personality type deals or uses their functions, and set ways for them to, I guess, become not personality types, celebrities. But yeah, I've never been interested in celebrities or like knowing names of people. I know a lot of people do that, and I don't understand that. And I'm pretty sure it's because my SE tricks, or I'm just like not really paying attention to anything. I'm paying attention to the work. That's like my ISFP superego talking, or just trying to understand what's going on. It's just the art. And it's just like, okay, yeah, this person did this, or this person made this, but someone was going to eventually do it. I guess it's nice to give credit with, TE, but I just look at the work or what people do from, I guess, a big picture standpoint, and just try to look at the little things through my SE, like what are people doing now, or what's going on, pretty much. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I don't understand why some INTPs fast forward, because it's not that I don't understand, but I see it's a SE trickster thing, because it's like the little things. Because if you don't study, like the facial expressions or how people, I guess, interact with each other, like body language and stuff like that, you're only slowing yourself down from learning more about personality types or how people work, especially the ones you like or love or you hate. No, I'm just kidding. INTPs, I don't think we can hate people. I think we can just not like people and just not want to do anything with them, because that's what INTPs do when we're either in our ego or superego. We're just behind the scenes. We don't want to deal with people, or if we're dealing with someone, it's like a one-on-one situation. But other than that, yeah, that's just me looking at information about INTPs through a SE, extroverted sensing standpoint. Man, I'm trying to be quick with my talking, but I seem to always be going long with these videos. But I'm not going to go long over 30 minutes, I promise. Okay, I think that was majority of pretty much what I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, fashion sense. I've been raised with affiliated personality types, like all of them. My father ENFJ, mother INFJ, sister ENFJ. But morally, my parents, with them being NFJs, they have extroverted sensing their top preference, or their ego side of the mind. So they're pretty much telling me, okay, you got to wear this because it looks fashionable, or you got to wear this because it's socially appropriate, because their FE is higher than mine. Their FE, their extroverted feelings just in their first and second slots of their personality type. So they have they have more variety in knowing, or about their knowledge about society and social norms, stuff like that. But yeah, that's caused me to look at myself more through a SE standpoint, and I think a lot of INTPs who know more about the cognitive functions and their personality type, they know about extroverted sensing they might know about extroverted blinding spot because extroverted sensing blind spot, because it just has to deal with how people present themselves and what sensations could be given to the outer source, pretty much, at least how I look at it. And for a lot of INTPs, if they don't have a lot of that, external sources to gather information about themselves, they can, I guess, dress poorly. That's what I've read, and that can probably come from extroverted feeling just not really being appreciated. So like that makes INTPs more just in isolation, pretty much. And I think that can inhibit qualities to going to their super ego side of the mind, because like I said, it's just INTPs, we're not really appreciated, especially when we're growing up. So we just pretty much learn to be an autodidact and just teach ourselves how to do these things, because we just make ourselves self-reliant, because we know we're not appreciated through people who don't know about the personality types, or that they don't know what's going on in INTP's life, and that sucks for us. But we learn to suck it up, and then we turn out to generally be ahead of our game compared to the other 16 personality types. I'm not going to say that we are. I just say I think INTPs have a tendency to do that, because after being lonely for a while, or having people not understanding you, you're like, okay, what's wrong with me? Am I just a defective person? Like this, we go into our ISFP superego, and like what it looks like for the FI. We just sometimes I could only imagine INTPs don't make it with their FI, so they think they're really bad people. So sometimes they could, commit suicides, stuff like that, and not do pretty much the true meaningful thing for an INTP standpoint. And it's just a lot of hurt for INTPs with our ISFP superego. But I guess I could talk more about this on a different timeline, I guess. But yeah, if you want me to, just let me know. And I could do another video because I can go on and on and on pretty much about the ISFP superego. Go point to point to point, stuff like that.